It's news time. Information is power. The current. The news headline. IPOB. Nnamdi Kanu must face justice. Igbo group. The foremost sociocultural group, the Igbo diaspora, had actually said that it was necessary for the Igbo leaders clamoring for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, suggesting that the total support of IPOB atrocities on Igbo and Nigeria as a nation. The Igbo think tank, in a statement on Sunday, said it was deeply concerned that the people who are victims of the carnage done to the southeast region and the country would contemplate such a blind and unpatriotic narrative and was still take it to the presidency. Reacting to posers on telephone for further comment, Vice President of the group, Chief Chidi Anayo, noted that Igbo can now see that Nnamdi Kanu was not alone in his fight against the Nigerian entity, which fight ultimately had given a bigger blow to the southeast region. We cannot sit here and watch away while our leaders are blackmailed and intimidated into emergency air voice to the presidential villa with requests that no democratically elected president would consider. Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari would be exposing the whole country to untold danger if he dares consider the release of Nnamdi Kanu without a full and proper trial. The group said that rather than call for Kanu's release, we had expected the so-called Igbo leaders to advise on an open and transparent trial of their son, who from all indications was on a lone mission. We commend governors who stood their ground in defiance of IPOB's senseless outings regardless of political and personal gains, as we recover from the humans' infrastructural economic losses brought upon by IPOB and their leader. It is expected that our leaders will seek total reconstruction of region by the federal government instead of seek the release of a man who does not recognize Nigeria and our leadership. Is it not an irony for Nnamdi Kanu, who said that Mr. President was dead and that Nigeria was a zoo, to benefit from the benevolence of the same president while breaching the principle of separation of power? Why not urge their son to show remorse and act better in future? What has IPOB and their leader done to anyone for their sins against Indigo and Nigerian states? What becomes of the Nigerian sovereignty if elder leaders could rally around criminals to wage war against the state? Therefore, they have actually said that, the group has said that during the time of Kanu's detention, as a few days, that a police station in Imo was raised, and therefore Kanu must be made to face the rule of law. While making a case for the Biafra agitator, said that if the federal government could grant amnesty to repentant Boko Haram terrorists and the Niger Delta militants, there is nothing stopping it from considering the case of Nnamdi Kanu and also that of Sunday Adeyemo Igboho. Speaking on Thursday during an interview on Channels Television, Obiozo argued that the Igbo people are not at war with the rest of Nigerians, urging that President Muhammadu Buhari needs to reconsider his stand not to release the detained IPOB leader. He said that Nnamdi Kanu, who is currently facing charges bordering on treasonable felony and terrorism, deserves to be given another chance and forgiven, as force is a dangerous option for everyone at this particular period in time. And that is one of the reasons why the former national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, that is Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, had actually spoken to defend President Muhammadu Buhari in this case, saying that he is actually doing his very best, and that those people that are criticizing, most of his regime are people that have always found pleasure in being toxic about the federal government of Nigeria.
Muhammadu Buhari was seen as the nemesis of corrupt politicians, and that image, which could not help him during previous electoral attempts, was capitalized on by Southwest media to burnish and garnish a political reputation against an admittedly helplessly gustless and hapless leadership of Goodluck Jonathan. But history is a mercilessly ruthless judge. While previously clueless and corrupt, Jonathan has become a beautiful bride of international diplomacy and democratic behavior. The anti-corruption warrior is now mired in a government that, by its own reckoning, has become the most inept and corrupt in our history. To be fair, the president did not promise much in the electioneering campaigns in both elections. Throughout the campaigns, his mantra, repeated like a broken record, was fighting corruption, insurgency, and improving the economy. His performance on all three counts is suspect, dubious, and undistinguished. Most people would even declare him a failure. By its own admission, even the government does not point to any of them as its main achievement, which is curious. To it, their greatest achievement is building infrastructure, which was a kind of an afterthought, as it never featured in his 2015 election campaigns. The curiosity is, how could one major in a subject on which he was not tested in an examination? On his greatest failure, agreement will be as difficult to reach. Insecurity has become a major menace in the country, and no part of his nation is spared. But because that is not his greatest failure, nor is the crumbling economy, which he was never given a chance in the first place. It has never been this bad since the war, and although President Muhammadu Buhari was elected to deal with the problem of insurgency in the northeast, his regime was added the nefarious activities of herdsmen and now bandits, who have not only made life brutally short and unbearable for most rural communities, especially farmers who have abandoned their farms, which has led to the threat of food scarcity and hunger in the country. The Nigerians are paying such humongous price on account of corruption in the public service in a government that promised to stamp it out is a monumental indictment of President Muhammadu Buhari and his legitimacy for the office. The paradox is that for every extra kobo that goes into fictitious projects and salaries, there is a corresponding denial of public-oriented spending to improve people's lives. Also, such increase in recurrent spending is directly responsible for the unending borrowing by this government to fund its acclaimed infrastructure development in a situation that mortgages the future of the country and the next generation. Consequently, the reason we are borrowing is not entirely because there is no money, as government has consistently maintained, but because its employees are siphoning the money into their private pockets at the expense of the generality of Nigerians. The obvious implication of this development is that the current anti-corruption strategy is defective and inappropriate, thinking that the main culprits in corruption are the political office holders. This view featured heavily in Buhari's approach in dealing with members of the Second Republic political class. But it is simply untenable because the political class does not have accounting powers, which belongs to the career civil servants. So it is financially impossible for the politicians to steal money from government coffers without the active involvement and collusion of the bureaucrats themselves. Also, for a minister or commissioner to steal a dime, the bureaucrat must be involved. Entire budgets of the country through the manners of expenditure. They also prepare the budget. Therefore, we have to revise and change the approach and train searchlight more on the public servants to actually get to the root of the matter. And also focusing on the few political office holders is